Welcome to Centre Court with thanks to CRT. Farming starts with CRT. No matter where you live or where you farm, it starts with CRT. I'm Bianca Chatfield and alongside me, as always, is Madison Brown. Well, of course, the international netball series between England and New Zealand has now come to a close. So let's get straight into the netball wrap. We're going to start off with the Taini Jamison Trophy results. So England, Maddie, pretty dominant in this series. They won the first and the second game and then managed to win the series in just after the second. But of course, New Zealand managed to triumph in game 3.
I think it was a great series, obviously, to see both of these teams. We haven't seen them since January this year. A few different names within the mix as well. But, you know, a great result, I think, for England coming over here, obviously losing, to Australia, the Diamonds, and then going over there, playing around with their combinations, unearthing some really new talent to take it away in the first 2 games, winning by 1, then winning by 4, and then losing by 5. And a huge turnaround by the Silver Ferns. As I mentioned last week, there were a few new names, Paris Mason in the mix, Claire O'Brien as well. So, you know, huge kind of like moving parts and pieces, I think, for both of these international teams that are looking to find their answers for when they come to another major tournament.
And at the first time in game 3 for the Silver Ferns that Nolene left on the same 7, that had Claire O'Brien in the team as well as Paris Mason. So I'm very interested to see who will be lining up when the Silver Ferns and Australia meet in the Constellation Cup, which will be coming up shortly. But before we get to that, let's talk about 2 standout players, 2 goalers, and they both happen to be playing with the New South Wales Swifts this season or next season in season 2025. Helen Housby, firstly, was instrumental in her role with the English Roses across both the Australian series and the New Zealand series. Look at that, from a goal attack across 3 games against the Silver Ferns, 50 from 60.
Oh, a huge, and I think she's like that barometer for them. She's that vibe indicator. When she's up and about, England's up and about, Swifts are up and about. She's so pivotal to their attacking lineup. I always think for goal attacks, you've got to have that triple-double. You've got to have double figures on the centre pass, double figures on the feed, and double figures as into how much you're contributing in volume and scoreboard. And she does that every single game. And when she does that, that's when her team wins. So huge numbers by Helen Housby.
And of course, we got to see Liv Sheen in action across that series, and that was a great combination she formed with Housby as well as Lois Pearson. Another shooter, this time for the Silver Ferns, that we're all eagerly anticipating coming into the Suncorp Super Netball. That is Grace Nowicki, 140 from 158. And I don't even think really we've seen the best from her yet. You just feel like it's building. The combinations seem to be building. And having Amelia Ekanasio out on court with her too only adds to, I think, the strength that the Silver Ferns can have down that end.
Oh, she's so young, and I know we've spoken about this on the show before, but her kind of courage to take the risk to come over here. This is the last time we'll obviously see her playing for the Silver Ferns until she starts playing with the Swifts, because she's not allowed to do both. But all of it's about her personal development in her own game and being able to obviously be exposed to the Australian style of play, the coaches, just in that pressure and intensity that SSN is played in, week out. For a young player to take that risk, but also know that it's only going to benefit her team, I have no doubt New Zealand will eventually wipe it up because they need her in their team. I mean, looking at those numbers for both of those goalers, 190 goals combined over 3 games. Woo. Swifts would be sitting there rubbing their hands going, how good was our recruit in the off-season? But they will be dominant, you know, finishing 6th in 2024, 2025. The Swifts will be very, very dominant.
Add in Hadley, Maddie Proud, the experience in the feeding to that combination. They are going to be lethal. Well, it's now time for Maddie's Minute. Maddie, take it away.
Well, I want to draw our attention to the Melbourne Mavericks. They have named their 2 training partners, obviously, for the 2025 season. We see some new faces, but also some old faces returning. We see Nia Allen is obviously back. She's been at the Adelaide Thunderbirds for the last year. She had a major surgery, obviously, when she was at Collingwood. So it's great to see her up and about, but also coming back over to Melbourne to hopefully get some court time, whether that's in obviously the reserves or in SSN. Jessie Grenfold back in the defence. Montana Holmes as well. Unique Pallavi is also another name that they've announced there, which, you know, during the season, she obviously went up to the Swifts to make her debut there in SSN. And Christiana Manua obviously played for the Mavericks as well. I think it's great that they're bringing some of this talent back. They're new faces, new names maybe within the mix that we will see. I do want to just draw attention to the training partner roles in general. We've seen a lot of training partners across SSN taking opportunities overseas, a lot of moving over to the UK. So I think we're kind of going to unearth some new talent, some new names, as I mentioned. But congratulations to those new players. Also, check out all the socials from your favourite SSN teams. They're all starting to name their training partners. Who are these young players that are potentially the future? But yeah, excited to see some of those names there. And also congratulations to those training partners that have taken their opportunities overseas. Yes. The UK, you're only allowed 2 imports per team.
Okay, yep.
But a lot of Australians go over there, get their opportunity, and then eventually come back and fold into an SSN team. So training partners are plenty. So keep an eye out for all the news that's happening across your team.
Interesting to see Unique Pallavi. We know that obviously you played with the Swifts, and there was a bit of, we thought, a little bit of tension with the Mavericks for not getting the opportunity back here, but she's back here, and now they know she can perform when she gets on the SSN court. So no doubt if they need her, but they do, with Sasha Glasgow back, have quite the talent down that end.
I'm not surprised that that's where Anaya Allen has been signed, because she is like the perfect kind of change up. She's very similar to a Glasgow, so I'm not surprised that name's been obviously brought back over, especially with Nicole Richardson. Obviously she's dealt with Naya before at the Collingwood Magpies.
Another lethal shot on her as well. Okay, time now for our centre court deep dive. Of course, we have to start turning our attention to the Constellation Cup. And if we look at what happens between Australia and New Zealand, this is the past 5 games that they've played against each other. Australia winning, obviously, in January in the last one by 13 goals. But then, if you look down, the New Zealand Silver Ferns have been very dominant in New Zealand. Australia have been very dominant here. It hasn't always gone to plan, and it hasn't really always kind of gone of how the teams have, which team's been in form. It really has been a hard task for the Diamonds to go over and play there in New Zealand and vice versa. So when we look at these 2 teams, we are still eagerly awaiting who is the actual team that the Silver Ferns are bringing over here to Australia. And same with the Diamonds, they're yet to name their team. But Amelia Attanasio wasn't on court in January when they played in the Nations Cup. She's a big in for the Silver Ferns. The Diamonds haven't seen her in recent times.
I mean, you look at that fun fact. Obviously, they have not lost when she has been playing on Australian soil. So, as you said, on New Zealand soil. It's obviously the advantage of your home crowd, and both of us know what it's like to play in New Zealand. It's vocal, it's loud, they love their netball. It's really, really hard.
Yes. Oh, don't you just... I personally, I don't know if it was a defender thing, but I loved it, because they would be getting into us, all the fans who were behind us, and I just enjoyed that they just, you know, love and bleed for their country, that they are happy to give it to us as the opposition. I quite enjoyed playing in front of that.
Oh, I loved it, especially when it was a close encounter. You'd kind of be like, oh gosh, what a good one to win. But I think obviously important going into this series, knowing that fun fact that, you know, both teams play really well on their home soil. When you are playing at home, you have to really put up the scoreboard pressure and maybe try, because obviously if it's two wins apiece, it comes down to goal difference. So you want to make sure you maximise your home court advantage.
And you get the feeling the Silver Ferns possibly needed to blow a few cobwebs out against the English Roses before they face the Diamonds to make it, I think, what's going to be a tough contest, especially the first couple of games. And Kira Austin up against the youngster in Paris Mason, that's going to be a matchup that I'm sure everybody will want to watch. Well, Maddie, thanks again for joining us on Centre Court, and a big thank you to CRT. Farming starts with CRT. No matter where you live or what you farm, it starts with CRT. We'll see you again next week.